Thanks for downloading Pave the Way Podcast. On this show, your host, Greg Helbeck, interviews the top minds in real estate, business, and personal development to help you crack the code so you can grow your business and, more importantly, grow your life. Get ready for another game-changing episode. If you want to learn how to master your day and become a productivity monster, download Greg's free guide on daily personal productivity for free at www.pavetheday.com. That's Pave the Day, spelled D-A-Y.com. Now it's time for today's episode. Enjoy.
All right, everyone. I'm back with Todd Toback, who is making his second appearance on the show. I'm really pumped to have him today. And we're going to talk a lot about dispositions and mindset in this business because Todd is an expert in both of those areas. So, Todd, thanks so much for coming back on the show, man. It's always a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you, Greg. Happy to be here. Let's rock and roll.
Absolutely, man. So for people who haven't listened to your first episode on the show, we'll make sure we have a link to that one also in the show notes. Can you give the listeners just a brief, quick outline on your backstory? And then we'll get right into it.
Yeah. So, like many of you listening, I got started not knowing anything about real estate. I had a job. I wanted to escape the rat race. You can listen to the whole thing, but I got a job in corporate America selling Viagra of all things. And, I scratched and clawed my way to my first deal, just not knowing a thing, going out there and taking massive action before, list source and all these tools and, auto dialers. And I mean, all these amazing tools that we have there. I had to go and pull that list by hand at the county and stuff my own letters and, wait for them to come back. And I remember, I haven't told this part of the story many times, but I actually wrote one letter and I actually photocopied them in this old school fax machine that acted as a copier, like way before those big multifunction printers existed. It was actually the fax machine that had the phone numbers on the front, and then if you, went through this slow scan and then printed out like 36 letters, really, really, really slow.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
That's funny. So that's how I did my first deal. Right. And so I talk about that. And so over the years, and I'll segue in today's show, I started out hustling just like you, and you get the deal under contract. And, if you're brand new, that's where you meet with a motivated seller. You find the motivation. You're trying to negotiate a great price, and hopefully it's enough to make a lot of money. And for me, I would develop this anxiety of selling this property as fast as humanly possible, right? You want to move the deal. And I can't tell you how much money I've left over the, on the table over the years. And so my goal for this podcast, if you're listening to this, is I want to double or triple the amount of money that you're putting in your pocket. Okay. I want you to start taking your business very seriously, like you're a real CEO, right? And that you have a fiduciary responsibility over your business and your personal finance to get the absolute most that you can out of a property. I see so many real estate investors out there. They're so sloppy. They do the work. They send out the marketing, or they cold call and they follow up and they meet with a seller at 10 o'clock at night and they do all this hard work. And then they're sloppy when they sell their property and they just leave a lot of money on the table. So my goal for you is to make this really easy for you. I want to change your mindset. I want to build your confidence. I want to increase your net worth, but most importantly, it's going to change your business forever.
Totally. No, I mean, and this is a topic that I don't think I've really had many people. I don't think you might be the first person on the show where we're really talking about maximizing the most out of our wholesale deals and dispositions, because I'll just tell the listeners, I took a lot of Todd's advice from his podcast and from knowing him a little bit. And over the last probably 18 months, I mean, doubled and or tripled sometimes our wholesale fees in New York and some in San Diego. And I just couldn't believe how much money I was originally leaving on the table, because I was like, I think, did you come up with the term cash buyer employee? Was that you?
I think so.
Yeah. I heard that get thrown around and I was like, man, I've been doing that for a while. I got to stop that. So Todd, when it comes to maximizing the most on the disposition side, let's get right into the down and dirty on it, because you got some great information on really how to do this in pretty much.
So we're going to start off with mindset, right? And so if you're a new wholesaler out there, a lot of people, when they approach their cash buyers, they're approaching this relationship the wrong way. right? Let me know if this is you, if you're listening to this. I'm not speaking to Greg specifically,
Yeah.
but you go and, you've got a few cash buyers and you feel like you're buddy with them, right? That you've got this strong relationship and you guys are just very, very good friends, right? Or you can see the sarcasm on my face, right?
Dude,
and the relationship is strong. Okay. Well, I've got news for you. Okay. The reason why this relationship is so strong is because you are bringing excellent deals to your cash buyer. Okay. You have what we call a big brother, little brother relationship, right? They have they're putting their arm around you and saying, go get this deal and fetch it for me, son. And that's exactly what you're doing. Okay. Now, some signs that you may be doing this is that you sell to the same 2 or 3 buyers every single time. Some signs that you may be doing this is that you are making the same fee on pretty much every single deal that you do, right? You've got your benchmark, right? So a lot of people, they're stuck at like, 7,000 or 10,000 or 12,500, and they're just in love with making that amount of money. Even though it cost you $4,000 to get the deal, right? And who knows how many hours, right?
Oh,
or you've got your internal thermostat, which doesn't allow you to make more. Now, a lot of you are like, I don't have that. Believe me, if your deals are pretty much close to the same size, you have a hang up on what you're worth. Actually, we all have a hang up on what we think we are worth, and we constantly have to push that. And if you don't say that you don't have an income thermostat, right, you're lying to yourself. So, Greg, let me ask you a question. If I told you right now that I would give you a special project and it would take a year of your time and you'd work 20 hours a week and you'd make $20 million, would you take on that project?
I would take on that project. Yes.
Okay, great. What if I told you that you work 20 hours and that you take on a special project and you would make $35,000 a year?
No, I would.
No,
I wouldn't
right?
do that.
Well, those two
don't make that in a week.
Well, see, those two same things. I didn't change the opportunity.
Yeah.
Right. But you just made a decision of what was worth your time and what wasn't. Right. So your income thermostat is somewhere between $35,000 and 20 million.
20 million. Yeah.
Right. Yes. And so somewhere there's a line where that you made that decision subconsciously, no difference in the job description. Right. And so right now, let's take that back to wholesaling. The work that you put in, the hours that you put in, whether you're a business owner and have a team or not, you're determining your self-worth and what you're willing to work for, right? That is how deep you will negotiate on the front end. And that is how far you will go to sell the property on the back end, how uncomfortable you're willing to get and shake things up on the back end. Now, another sign that you may not be getting enough is that if you told your cash buyers that they had to compete for the deal, right? That they would have to actually bid against one another and you are uncomfortable with that, right? Oh, these are my friends. I can't do it. This is this. I guarantee you're leaving money on the table. I guarantee 100%. It, right? So what we're going to do on today's show, Greg, is number one, we're going to change your mindset. Number two, we're going to give you some actionable steps so that we can change this forever. Okay. If you're listening to this, I love you. I'm going to give you some tough love, and then we're going to build you up to increase your income. And I promise you, I've trained pretty much every guru in this business. And I can tell you that this is the one thing that I've seen where if you turn this knob in your business, right? Or if they're teaching this, all of their students changing this knob in this business, these are the people who have net worth in the millions, right? The people who don't do this struggle from deal to deal and month to month and day to day.
Totally. That's so true. I've heard you are the guru's guru, as they say.
Well, some people don't teach this. I don't know why. Right. Yeah. And they feel like they want to build these relationships with these cash buyers. And that's just, I'll build a relationship with you. Right. And I'll be a friend, but these are the rules. And we're going to talk about those rules and we've got to play within these rules. Right. And, I'm going to set clear expectations. So let's go on to how to do that. Is that okay, Greg?
Sounds good to me, man.
Okay. So most people, when they get a property under contract, first of all, they develop this anxiety to sell it, and there's a rush. And what they do is they call up their cash buyer, and it's easy. So there's 1 or 2 phone calls. There's not a lot of back and forth. And they say, okay, I'll give it to you. And the first thing they start to do is they negotiate an assignment fee, which I don't know why they do that, but you should always negotiate on price. Okay. So let's start and saying we need to stop this immediately. And the end goal is to create massive competition for your properties by creating bidding wars, and then to drive it as high as you possibly can, so that the person who is going to pay the most for the property, who's going to accept your terms, right, is going to be the winner. Right now, we're going to assume, well, I know this guy is going to close, and that's why I go with him. Let me tell you a little secret right now. Okay. The market is a spot where there are hundreds or thousands of people willing to close, right? And you can dictate those terms. So the first step I'm going to recommend is you need a very robust cash buyers list. Now, there are some people out there saying the more cash buyers on your list, the better. And the trade lists with other wholesalers, forget that. That's complete garbage, horrible advice. When you start trading lists with other wholesalers, you're going to get lists with a bunch of other wholesalers on them, right? So what we're looking for is true, legit, proven cash buyers. So you need, just 30 or 40 really, really good ones, right? And maybe 100, but at the end of the day, if you're sending something out, you only are going to really have 20 people who are actually real buyers.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Totally.
Right?
Totally.
The other thing though that I noticed is that there are one-off buyers, and I'll talk about that. So Greg, remind me just the one-off buyer that we'll talk about here in a second.
Yep.
But it's all about buyer control. Okay. Buyer control. And you need to set the tone with your buyers that this is the way that we do things. So you're all going to go to the property at one time, at the same time. This is not an inspection. This is not an open house. This is an appointment inspection. So you need to show up right on time, and you're going to have 20 minutes. Okay. There's not going to be any contingencies. You got to use cash or hard money only. $5,000 non-refundable into escrow by wire only within 24 hours. And if you're okay with these, I'd love to have you come and inspect the property at this time. Okay. Keyword here is the suggested starting bid is $169,000 or whatever that is. Okay. Now for me, I'm going to have you price this $10,000 below. Now it's going to take some guts to do this, right? Below what you think the property will sell for.
So anchor it low on purpose to try to just drive it up, basically. By creating it.
Correct. You're much better off trying to start off low and create a frenzy than have a bunch of people look at it and be like, I don't know.
Yeah, because it's too high.
It's too high, right? So you want people there, even if they don't think that they're not going to buy it, right? Yeah. So that's what I would do. And some people are like, oh my gosh, I don't want to do this. What's the seller going to think? We'll talk about that. We're going to talk about that at the end. All right. Totally. So again, we're going to get you a big pair of brass balls if you're listening to this. So I'm not sure. Do you have to now mark this podcast explicit because I said that? I don't know. Dude,
I say shit all the time and stuff. Okay. Yeah, no. I've had a Billy Alvaro on here. He said some way worse stuff.
Okay. So you send that out and you get them there all at the same time, right? And then you tell everybody else that their bid needs to be within 24 hours. Okay. Now you're going to send people there and they're going to look around and they're going to see hopefully 10 to 15 other people there. Your anxiety should be going through your anxiety level should be going through the roof if you've done this right. And this is your first time. So if that's it and you're nervous, hey, we are on the path of growth. So we're there, and then the offers are going to come in and you're going to find something. You're going to find that the properties that you used to make 10 on, you are going to make 35 and 40 on almost immediately. You can also do this by, working with real estate agents and get realtors there with their buyers, right? And expand this list over and over and over and over and over again, right? And you can play the game, but tell people it's the highest and best, and you are automatically going to increase what you can. And one of the things is that your income thermostat, it's interesting because what's going to happen during this process is that you're going to get people on your list before they go there and they're going to say, I want it. And they're going to try to come in at your asking or 5 or 10K above asking.
Yep.
And they're going to try to get it. And this is where your patience, you need to back away and say, no, I'm going to slow down, because if the buyer wants it at this price today, guess what? You're going to get a price $20K more than you thought. And you're going to want to take it. You're like, oh my gosh, this is more than I thought. This is the biggest deal I've ever had. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And that anxiety is going to take over. And no, you got to let the market do its work, right? You got to let the deal matriculate and mature and just wait. And if you think that you're going to lose that buyer, you're not. If they're good for today, they'll be good for tomorrow. And if they're not good tomorrow, they were really never good for today.
They were jerking your chain the whole time, man.
Yes.
That's so true.
So you say, Todd, I've got a couple of things. Oh my gosh, my cash buyers are going to hate me. This is it. Oh my gosh, my best friends. Well, first of all, if your best friends dump you because you all of a sudden change your process, they weren't friends.
Yeah, they were there for the money. Yeah,
there for the money. The second thing though is this is where you got to earn. You got to earn your respect here. So you might be like, oh my gosh, Todd, this is me. And I've been getting beat up, and what do I do? And I don't want to lose my relationships. So the first thing that I would do is I would send that email out, right? And the first one, I'd say, our process has changed. Please read below, right? And that way you're setting clear expectations. Now, if you do this right, okay, and again, I'm not telling you to purposely kill relationships, because I'm saying in your email, you could say our process has changed. Please read below.
Yeah.
Your old buyers, the first time you do this, are going to show up at that inspection the first time. This is like clockwork, and it should work if you do this right.
Yeah.
And they are going to go, forget this. I'm never buying from you again. I'm going to go market direct to sellers direct and become your competition. I'm out of here.
Yeah.
And they storm off. Now, first of all, there's only one reason why they're mad at you. It's because you are not going to be giving them an additional 20 or 30K of equity anymore. I would be mad too, right? I would be mad too, right? So I don't blame them, but this is the way it is. Now, eventually they will cool off, and a portion of them will come back and understand the process. Maybe they'll buy from you in the future. Maybe you won't, maybe they won't, but this is a part of growth. Right. And so my goal for you is to do this. And if you feel uncomfortable about this, well, we're on the right track. I had one private client of mine one time do something totally outside his comfort zone, kind of like this is a little bit different. And he said he threw up in there. And so that was one of my most proud moments of as being a coach. So that was really exciting. And I want the same for you. So I guarantee you, if you do that, you're going to see your income go up per deal. Now let's talk 100%. Let's talk about any questions on that, Greg?
I want to put a pin in that real quick, because I want to share. I took that advice you did. Quick story here. City Heights, Dwight Street, a couple months ago. I wholesaled the house in Spring Valley, which is, not too far from where you are. And I undersold it and made 40. And I was like, I think I did this the wrong way. So I got another deal in City Heights. I literally did exactly what you did, like to the T. Drove all the buyers there. Not a great neighborhood, so it was a little scary, just the neighborhood in general. Suggested starting bid. I was anticipating to make 60 on it. Had a buyer come in, and they were all there at the same time trying to, bully me around. And I said, I'm not taking an offer. There was probably 10 people in this house, small Spanish style house. Long story short, $70,000 assignment, literally within 24 hours, because I drove the price up and I didn't let the buyers beat me up. So that's like a real case study from doing this. I made extra 10 grand plus, it was still a 70K assignment. So this stuff works for the listeners. Like, this is doable thing. And I was uncomfortable as hell. I got to tell you, I was super nervous there, and I was like, oh, these guys are going to be pissed, but it was a total game changer for me. So,
one of those things that, eventually is, I always create separation, right? Yeah. So I'm not the one there. I'm not the one dealing with it. And there's a little bit of frustration there, but people will start texting you like, where do I need to be? Where do I need to be? If you previously have that relationship, right?
Yeah.
So eventually, eventually I've created this separation now where I'm not in that, and they're not trying to leverage that personal relationship to do that. And, think about this. I mean, are your friends going to ask you to give you $10,000?
No.
Right. So if someone's your friend and they're like, hey, hook me up, we've been doing business for years, why would you do that? It's just a really, really poor business decision. So
100%.
Let's go back to
one-off buyers. I think you're going to say
one-off buyers, right? Yeah. Is one of the reasons why this is so important is sometimes when you're selling on a property, you have an idea, number one, of what what you think the property is worth and a bias of what you think you should make. And you always have to work on this. Everybody has this.
Yeah.
Right. And so you've got to remove that. But there's always these one-off buyers in these neighborhoods who maybe know the neighborhood a little bit better. Right. Or they bought a house down the street and like, this is their street and they're going to win this deal. Right.
Yes.
Or you get like the father and son combo where the wife and the husband just got divorced. And now the contractor and his 22-year-old son are going to buy the house, move into it, fix it up themselves, and only need to make 15 grand.
Yes.
Right. And so you get those. And so these one-off buyers will change your year in this business. Wholesaling is a fantastic business, right? I've been in it for a long time. It's not as easy as it used to be.
No.
So you have to get better.
Yeah.
Right? You have to get better. And these are the little nuances of the business that will change your year. So if you're only doing 12 deals a year and you make an additional 10,000 on each one, that's $120, but that's all profit.
Yeah.
That's all
same
profit.
transaction.
Yeah.
Totally.
And so for many people, I don't know where you're at in this journey. You this business could net you 7 figures easy, but some people will just kill for 6 figures. And that entire, if you do 10 deals, that's your entire profit for the year.
Totally.
So that's the one area where I would really, really watch out for those one-off buyers. Now, some people are like, okay, Todd, what do I do about the seller? I mean, I'm going to have all these people here. And I can tell you, this goes back to the sales system, is you are going to be captive to whatever story you tell the seller from the beginning. Okay. So if you're listening to this and you are going there and you pretend like you're going to live in the house, right? Some investors, I don't know why they do this, but they do that. They think they're going to trick grandma into selling their house to couple, right? Totally foolish move, right? So you're going to have to live with the story that you tell. The other story that I tell is that you got wholesalers who go around with their pad and they start adding up repairs. Like they're going to be, this is 30,000. I'm going to have to fix this and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And they start telling the story like they're going to fix the property, right? And if you fix properties for a living and that's what you do, great, right? But you're going to have to live with that story.
Yeah.
Right? For us, we're thinking ahead though, right? And for me, my style is I love to hit the seller between the eyes with honesty. And what I mean by that, it doesn't mean I have to tell the seller everything, right? But I have to tell them the things so that they know what to expect, right? So anything that's going to hit them, I need to get in front of and then tell the truth and appropriate story so that they see that. So for example, we tell every seller, look, we want to make this as easy as convenient for you. Okay. We're going to get everybody here at the same time. I'm going to save time. You're going to save time. Right. And so it's going to be complete pandemonium for about an hour. Okay. Now I want to get in once. I may have to get in second or third time, which I don't think I'm going to have to do. Right. But I just anchor them just in case.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have my inspector here. Right. I even said that we're going to start marketing the property. Right. So we're going to try to sell as soon as humanly possible. So I anchor them that they don't think that's on the same day, but I said, we're going to sell as fast as humanly possible. So I say that. So I go, I'm going to even have some our buyers here, right? Because we're going to market in advance, right? Yeah. So we anchor them there. And then I'm going to have my inspector, I think I already said that there. So I do a couple of things. So then I actually have a professional inspector come. Okay. Cost me $250. And this guy comes in the property and he's doing his thing. And it's interesting because then the seller's anxiety goes up when they see this guy writing down and taking pictures and doing all this stuff.
Yeah. I know how that is.
I love it.
For sure.
It's a phenomenal distraction, right?
Oh, yeah.
Phenomenal distraction. And then all my buyers come and they're 15 and they're there. Whoa. They're like, this guy is on it. He told me everyone's going to be here. They see action. They see movement. They see my inspector and they feel like the deal is getting done.
Yes.
Right.
They see the progress.
They see the progress.
Yeah.
Now, if I go the opposite and I go dark on the seller for 5 days,
oh, dude.
and then I have 4 people show up And like, who are these people? Oh, well, this is my friend. This is my partner. This
Oh,
is my,
man.
right. That is so weak. Right.
Yeah.
It's interesting because the posture, the certainty, the communication that I portray from the beginning, right, just puts me in such a position of power versus the guy who's trying to hide everything and tells all these, white lies, right? You don't need to do that.
Yeah.
Right. And so now you drive the price to the roof, and then you go to escrow, you make a big check. And so that's my advice. It's simple, right? It's simple. And so that's a little mindset shift.
That's golden. I mean, that is golden advice, because I mean, a lot of wholesalers listening to this podcast, I mean, I've had that work out in my face. I've had, the right expectations set, like the one in City Heights, and it was pretty smooth for the most part. And I've also, like you said, done it the wrong way in New York and had a mini World War III on the street before, and from, not setting the right expectations. And I can relate to this so much, because I think the evolution as people listen, as wholesalers, as they grow and do more deals, like they're like, oh man, I used to just sell the 2 or 3 buyers. Todd, there's literally, I've probably left, not lying, $300,000 to $400,000 on the table in the last, from when I started to like 3 years into the business, because I was selling my deals $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 assignments. And the guys I was selling to, they're still my good friends. They were just taking my deals and double closing and selling to someone else. And, it is what it is at the time. I mean, that was where I was at. But I mean, if the people listening to this take this information and just implement 1 or 2 things, it'll change their entire income for sure.
Well, I got a couple other tips for you here,
Yeah.
You always want to be increasing your confidence, right? And you also got to increase your options, right?
Totally.
So, for me, I also developed a reputation with buyers, to not try to go around me. Right. And that you don't want to burn a relationship with me. Right. And so you want to develop, this as a real business person, right? As a real business person. So, you want to develop that reputation. But the other thing that you want to do is, because for me, I'm probably not going to I'm not going to sue a seller for not doing business with me. Okay. But I would sue a buyer. Right. Does that make sense?
Interesting.
Right.
So you do the inverse. That's kind of the opposite of me. Yeah, no, that's interesting. I've had that happen with sellers where we almost went to court.
Yeah. But for me, because, the issue is that you just want to develop that reputation, right? And have that sword in your pocket. And I'm not saying you have to use it, right? But just know, just have that. Now, here's the other thing. Money gives you options, right? And now let me talk about that for a second, because, and I probably shouldn't even have brought up the litigation thing, because believe me, the amount of times that we've had to is it's so rare, so few.
Yeah. Totally.
But let me go back to, your business and looking at it like a business person. One of the strongest and best things that you can do as a business owner from day one is to get a profit and loss statement. Now, many people are, they're listening to this and they're like, I'm not there yet. Yes, you are, right? You need to be keeping your books from day one, and you need to be getting a P&L. P&L is just if you don't know what that is, it's just basically a statement that says, I made this much. These are my expenses. And at the bottom, there's a little bar or a little line. It's called net profit. And that's what you made. So people, what they post on Facebook is gross. People, what they actually make is called net. And that's at the bottom. And so you want to tell yourself the truth all the time, but then you have to constantly stay in front of the truth. Because if you look at that number at the bottom, you're like, this is what I actually made, right? You're always going to that's going to mess with your income thermostat. That thermostat is always going to be in front of you. So when I used to run marathons, I used to have my Garmin, and I used to constantly be looking at my pace. It used to hit me every mile, right? And I remember I was training try to do a 3:15 or 3:20 marathon. And I knew that I had to be right around 7 minutes to hit that, And so every time when I was doing my training runs, I was above 7 minutes on a run. I'd speed up, right? I'd speed up, and
that thermostat. Yeah.
That thermostat goes on.
Yeah.
Right. And so and I would push myself in workouts that way. Right. Or when you race. And so that P&L, right. The months, those are like the mile markers, and the year is like the entire marathon.
It's like the race. Yeah.
Right. And so you've got to be looking at it every single month. And how does it go back to the deals? Well, believe me, if your thermostat goes off or on, right, you're going to be focused on how much you're making per deal. You got to squeeze it out. You are a fiduciary. Like I said at the beginning of this podcast, you're a fiduciary of your business. You got to understand how to work those marketing dollars, right? You got to spend them the right way. Then you got to convert them the right way, right? You got to treat every lead like gold. You got to call them. You've got to nurture them. You've got to close. You got to send out offers. You got to follow up again, right? You got to not waste time with the people who are never going to do business with you. And if you're behind, right, well, then you got to hire somebody, right? I mean, you can't throw this stuff in the toilet. And so going back to, all of this stuff, and then you got to sell the deal for a maximum profit. So a couple more things before we end here, Greg. That's really important. Number 2 is that you got to have a cash source, right? Your really, really, really big deals. For me, if it's a giant one, I would suggest taking those down. For me, that's something that we do. We have when I mean take down, I mean fund it. We fund it.
Close it. Just take it down and buy it.
We take it down and buy it. And then we'll resell in this market. You may have your own mark. I've got my own, but we decide to do that just as a matter of precaution.
Is that only in California, or you'll do that in another area too if you're buying out of state?
If I got someone on the ground, I'll do that.
Close on it.
Yeah. I mean, so
Smart.
we just did one yesterday. So, that's the issue. And then if you, so a couple things with this, going back to, if you use your own, if you're cash rich, right, or you borrow money, then, that's great. But then make sure you pay yourself interest.
Yes.
On that, and you calculate that in the terms of your profit, right? So you don't want to take a bad deal and make it good by using your money. You want to just pay yourself for your interest and understand that, right? So you always want that money. So when you see deals, you got a lot of power. It also is a posturing thing. Like if your buyers aren't there, or, if you got to close it, if any buyer holds you hostage, or they're not going to close in the last minute for whatever reason, you can close it and get it done. So I'm going to recommend that to you. And then if, you want to have hard money lenders in your pocket, just in case you need cash, right? So
yes,
keep your options open. One of the other thing to think about big deals, and that is something that we've gotten better at, is that there are certain deals that have what I call scary on it, right? Where for whatever reason, you can get a lot more, but there's one particular thing that's actually not that big of a deal, right? That if you handle it, you can get a lot more, right? So for example, if I've got a tenant in a property and no one will touch it.
Oh, that's my niche, dude.
Yeah.
That's literally my niche.
But I know that I can get 80 for it if it's vacant, versus 15 if it's not, right? I'm going to buy that property. I'm going to deal with the tenant. I'm going to get them out of there. Then I'll make the 80, right? And 100%. So this is the, the difference, right? Do not, when you see a spread like that, right? Sometimes don't be a fool. Right. You take care of this. Right. And so, granted, you don't want to take on a hairy deal for an extra 15K. Right. That's not what I'm suggesting. If something has, you got a hoarder house and you can't see the walls and it's just too much, and you could change that spread from 15 to 50, I would recommend that. Take it down.
Buy it.
Right. And so buy it.
Yep.
Right. And then, again, your confidence is going to start to go up. You could still wholesale. Right. And then the last part is, if, you start to keep some properties, right? Start to keep some properties, make it happen, build your net worth. Single family rentals aren't my favorite to hold, but you can, right? And make a lot of money. And there are a lot of people do it. I like mobile home parks as my holding strategy, but get out there and build your equity and your cash flow. That's going to be really, really important. You want to be a money machine. You want to be generating cash, but you also got to build that equity and cash flow. So that is my shtick for today. Greg.
That's awesome. And I'm glad you ended with that, because it took me about 4 years to realize that I need to hold some rental properties. And something that you mentioned in your sales training, it's like the real money is in the acquisition. So whether if you get a deal at the right price, I have properties that I do the burst strategy on, where it's like, I'm putting money in my pocket tax-free that I probably would have made wholesaling. I'm just refinancing and getting like the proceeds. So if you can be a master at acquisitions, I mean, the rest will take care of itself depending on the exit strategy. So Todd, Man, I appreciate you coming on the show. As always, I'm sure this is going to be an extremely popular one like your first one was. If people want to learn more about you, what is the best? Sorry, there's a little construction project going on here. There's a noise here. If people want to check you out, learn more about you, your podcast, your sales course, what's the best website for them to check everything out at?
Yeah. If you want to go to our website, you can go to the NoLimitsRealEstateInvesting.com, NoLimitsRealEstateInvesting.com. You can go there and download the map. It's massive action plan. So whether you're doing your first deal or you want to start to scale out your team, you can go there, and it's extremely relevant. Or we'd love for you to subscribe to the podcast. If you go on iTunes or Google Play or Spotify, the No Limits Real Estate Investing Podcast. I think it's iTunes if you're old, by the way, and Spotify if you're young.
Yes. Like, yeah, I'm a Spotify guy for sure.
Yeah. Go and check us out there. We would love for you to listen to the show.
Awesome. Well, make sure that's in the show notes. And I got to say, your podcast is excellent. I listen to it all the time. So keep putting out the good content. And I hope you have a great rest of your day.
All right. Thanks, Greg.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Pave the Way Podcast. We hope you got value from today's episode. Make sure you download Greg's free guide on daily personal productivity for free at www.pavetheday.com. That's pavetheday spelled DAY.com. If you have any questions or want to reach out, head over to www.pavethewaypodcast.com. We'll see you on the next episode.